Good day. Hope you guys are well. It's your boy Crispy T, and I'm back. So, yes, I have an update for episode 7 of the calling of a ravenous bird. So, yes, episode 7 was the one where I was talking about the pandemic and not well, the pandemic, yes, and why God used the pandemic for certain revelations. Now, this is to do with by the title of this. This is to do with the not the flu shot. I'm so sorry. The vaccines that came around and were distributed and assimilated ever since the the breakout of the COVID-19 virus. And I'm not going to turn this into a necessary debate on the originations of the virus or go too deep into the whole medical research and the empirical stuff as far as the illness and the viruses as concerned. What I am going to emphasize on this particular update is that in South Africa and in terms of the vaccine rollouts over here, what has happened is that we are now seeing signs of, if you remember episode 7, and just to ensure that, please people check out episode 7 first before even listening to the whole of this. But otherwise, if you do listen to this whole message in its entirety, do refer to that what I said in the episode 7 so you can get the whole bigger picture of what I was saying. And when I heard directly from God regarding this whole pandemic and what was going on, and why in general, whether it be it in our personal lives, our work lives, or even our faith and all of that and everything else that will have to bring us closer to God. It was just about the revelations, meaning that 2020 was the year of sight, meaning you see in perfect clarity as to what is really going on. And in South Africa in particular, and I can also, but I'm not going to try to do that as yet. Sorry, let me just drop that one. What I'm going to do is just say, if you remember that episode, is that I saw a vision of some vaccine. Basically, it was like an injection and a needle, right? So it was just a rollout, and I was like, oh, I already knew what that kind of meant, but it was like just prior to the announcement of the fact that they were going to do the rollouts. Okay, so this kind of just happened, and I was just, but it's not to say that you needed to have a prophetic anointment to know what was coming next necessarily. It's just that what made me think was more like, okay, yes, they had been talking about this vaccine for for a while, that they're going to develop a vaccine and all of that, and yes, all of a sudden certain vaccines, and they were saying it might take a few years before they do that, and in the interim they're going to just focus on the lockdowns and all the and social distancing, wearing masks, all of that stuff, right? So in regards to the handling of COVID-19 and this breakout in the pandemic. And but the vaccine story, now I understood why God had to show me that quick vision, because it's it's like the tipping point, because now this is what's going on in South Africa, where all of a sudden there's this pushing of these vaccines, and it hasn't been mandated as yet, as in it hasn't been made compulsory or made or legislated to have been mandatory that you take the vaccine as per se. But it looks like there's a big push towards that direction, okay, for one. But then here's the other thing, is that there are members of other parties who are now coming out. And one particular that we have is the EFF and Julius Malema, who's also now pushing a vaccine. And what's funny is that about it's about the country, the original country of the manufacturer of a certain vaccine. So let's say in the USA, there's the Johnson and Johnson, for example, one, and there's Pfizer, and there's a few others, right? But then And then there's other manufacturers out in the BRICS um, trading bloc, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's in this whole BRICS affiliation. And those people are now paying certain politicians to sort of push their specific brand from their specific country, because now it's a big opportunity to make money and also to secure um, well foreign funding as per se, but also yes, in terms of the lobbyists and the lobby groups and all of that. So like when it comes with politicians, like you must understand one thing is that it's capture money in terms of making sure that you get your bread buttered as a politician to push certain manufacturers and push certain business interests so that they can then gain access to a market and also the necessary due tax concessions um, in this whole thing. So it sort of works out that way for both parties. That's the problem with career politicians, unfortunately. So yeah, this is one of those unfortunate developments that we've had. But what I want you to pay attention to is that watch South Africa, because it is really becoming a divisive issue where people in parliament are like accusing the president of pushing a certain brand of vaccines, and then this other in the parliament have their own preferred benefactors who also want them to push their merchandise and their produce over to people. And also I've seen things where it's come out where it's like there are certain clinical trials and certain things that they just want to try out, so meaning that people in certain segments are doing this for research purposes, right? So that they can develop better, because that's why they're always saying that when you get these vaccines and all of that, you need to keep on um, vaccinating, especially when this virus keeps mutating. That's why they're speaking about first, second, third waves, etc., etc., etc. So, what I will say is this: as far as this is what I truly believe in my heart, is that I'm not saying that this is what God showed me as per se, but apart from the fact that there was going to be this rollout, right? But mainly the interests and the benefactors and the people who are just out there doing pushing, selling certain fears and telling you, oh no, this is the cure and all of that. And I'm not saying to people, do not take the vaccines. That's not what I'm saying. I cannot say that with any authority because I've not been given that from God to tell you, do not take it. However, just always pay attention and always ask yourself what the agenda is and how far along are they in the research process, right? And also do bear in mind the fact that your own body's tolerance. You know your body, you know your history, you know everything. So don't make panic moves just because certain things, or you want to do certain things. Because I've heard people going to the getting vaccines, and one thing is that do it if you feel led to do it. So that's why it's important to have a prayer life, and that's between you as an individual with your own level of tolerance and having your own unique sort of balances and hormonal chemical sort of chemical levels and your own, how can I say, tolerance levels, really, of just knowing what goes in and out of your body. So you're the one that knows your own body's threshold, and that's between you and your maker, you and God, and nobody else should be telling you what to do. And I'm not saying that I'm talking about against the medical council at all. No, no, no. I mean, God has His people everywhere, and I mean, if He has someone like me who came in the music industry and decided you are going to do ministry, but you're going to stay in the music industry as well. You know what I mean? Like I said, industry and ministry, it's sort of what I have to do right now. And he can do the same with someone in the medical field who's like, well, this person over here, this doctor over here, this research over here is doing what I've inspired him to do and what I've called him to do. right? So always pay attention, and yes, because when you hear it from God and He tells you to do what you need to do, and who to go to and who to consult in terms of your body, your physical body, which is the temple of God, really. And if you allow God to live in it, that's the main thing. Then you'll be fine to go along. But please don't make any decisions until you've called upon God. And that's just me, just from what I know, and I've been hearing mixed cases and cases against this whole vaccine. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it or should not do it, but I'm just saying because of the fact that yeah, I don't know. It's like I understand from what I know that the pinnacle or the premise of medical research is that it should be scientifically based, but it seems like scientific thinking has gone outside the window if you look at the whole this management of this whole pandemic and everything, and which is just so weird, and it's a lot of contradictions, and yeah, and that part is just my own opinion. But of course, it's I can only relay what I feel led to be relayed, that these vaccine wars all have their certain ambassadors and their benefactors in terms of the political leaders. And furthermore, well, I'm going to tie this in with what I saw happening regarding the USA, and I can't remember which episode that was. But anyway, I think it was episode 6. But in any case, where it was about the world, Donald Trump, yeah, Donald Trump in the world, where pay attention to what happens in Italy and in India, because if South Africa is having these sociological and socio-economical factors here, and which has politicians in the center of it in terms of the vaccine and managing of it, surely you'll see certain things happening in India too and in Italy too. Because if you remember when I said on that particular episode with Donald Trump in the world, the first one about speaking about Trump in my series of prophecies, is that Italy and India are going to take the shape of South Africa. So, albeit whether it's a weather and climat- climatological, I don't know, climatology, I'm not too sure if I got that right. It doesn't sound right. But if it's a climate issue and about mainly the parallels between South Africa and Italy and India taking that shape, or it could be the economical one, because it was like a weather report if you listen to that prophecy, which I'll also link in the description box. So just pay attention, because quite clearly, if you know anything about politics and lobbyists, it affects the economy quite directly. And what it's actually saying, and like I said, it was a revelation, is that these things, as far as vaccines and everything on the rollout, and big pharma, as in big pharmacy, pharmaceutical companies, they were always looking to pounce on opportunities whenever there was a breakout and things like that. It's just that in 2020, it was just put in the open, and it was just so pushed so heavily, and especially with the media always talking about COVID every time and every opportunity they can get. So there's a definite interest, financial interest in this, and people must just never fool themselves and kid themselves on that. So, with this said, guys, anyway, it's you work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That's all I can say for you. Keep a prayer alive and stay locked on God. Well, if God sends anything else to you, or sends me to tell you all anything else, yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. Much love and light. Peace.